question for Braddock in that game. I know he had all infantry tech, but I saw an unused factory, an armory, and 30 enemy mutas that kept stacking. So that is something that I saw Lucifron do quite a lot in his... oh, yeah, that was good. In a lot of the early days when he was doing this Hellion plus Marauder style in the late early game stages, you know, around the 9 or so minute mark, he would eventually get a Thor. He would eventually pull the factory off that reactor, give that reactor to a barracks, and just get a tech lab for a Thor. And what I love about Tipaki's question is that it notes all the other parts that are going on here. It notes the factory, it notes the armory, and one thing that isn't noted here that I'll go into in a second is the fact that we were getting a starport in there as well. So let's talk about the wrong way to ask Tipaki's question, which is, I saw mutas. What about a Thor? And I mean, if that's your thought process, then that's a problem, right? Because, yes, a Thor is good against a Mutalisk. I mean, if a Thor existed at this point in time, then yeah, it would obviously be good here. But anytime you want to ask yourself if something's good or not, again, you got to think of it strategically. How does it link into all these other pieces in the game? If it's a little bit jagged, then you're going to have a problem. So the reason that this is not jagged is that Braddock was upgrading a ton out of his engineering base, so he needed that armory up. So he already has the armory tech available for the Thor. Braddock was also rushing for a Viking and then rushing for medivacs, so he could do this early push. So he already had to have the factory made and have done stuff with it earlier on. So cool, we already have the factory done. So yeah, I actually think it would have been pretty damn cool to just throw a tech lab on, get a Thor, and then begin his push. Maybe just one, maybe two, because a Thor plus a Marine Marauder group is really strong. Or one or two Thors plus Marines is really, really, really good. It's when Thors become naked that it's just 4 Thors. They're actually kind of weak against Mutalisks again. So I think that would have been a very excellent, interesting choice. Alternatively, the reason that I would have a reaction against using Thors is because if we're going all-out Medic Marine, let's just go all-out Medic Marine so our Marine Marauder stuff is stronger. So I kind of like just building 2 or 3 turrets and defending the Mutalisk push that's going to happen now, and then just deal with the Mutalisk later with more Marines. I like that quite a bit. Let us see. Oh, you know, here's a great question by Competition, which, by the way, is an awesome name. Do you think the game would be more easily won if Braddock went mech like all the other Terrans? Why did he go Marine Marauder Medivac in the first place? So this is a style question. Anytime there is a new build that comes out, everyone just seems to assume that what they're seeing is the good thing of the day. And I'm not necessarily saying that Competition does this, but I personally am saying that everyone in the universe has seen these trends over time happen where, oh god, oh look, it's the fantasy build. Oh my god, fantasy has solved 3-hatch Mutalisk. He figured it out like it was a Rubik's Cube. You know, oh cool, he did it. And now you should only ever do the fantasy build, and that's it. Boom. What am I talking about? What the hell am I talking about? Oh yeah. So people tend to look at the common strategy and accept that as it. And then when people come up with a change version of it, they go, oh, people found something that's even better. When really, a lot of the times, it's stylistic. So for instance, you will still see Bisu emphasize a lot of Corsairs in his PvZ styles. He'll just get a lot of Corsairs, and that works out nicely for him. You have some more modern Protoss Berserk players who are getting 1 Corsair and then going for Zealot Archon pushes and that sort of things, or even crazy players who skip the Stargate altogether and just go Zealot Archon. It's all stylistic. It's all how it comes out. So the thing about mech is, stylistically, It's super, super passive. You end up with a ton of muscle, but you can't really move around very much. Whereas with the Marine Marauder medivac, you get to be all over the place and do crazy shit. And because Braddock's great at that, I see no reason to say, "Hey, Braddock, no, don't do your Marine Marauder medivac stuff. Instead, switch over to mech." Because what I'm actually seeing Braddock do is he's doing Marine Marauder medivac in a way that people do not do Marine Marauder medivac. He's doing it with drops, he's doing it with early aggression, he's doing it with regular timing pushes, he's doing it with splitting small forces all over the map, completely unseen up to this point, the level of aggression that Braddock's been able to demonstrate in this game. And a lot of it is linchpinned on the medivacs, the fact that they can fly and heal. So I really, really like that quite a bit. Oh yeah, here's a great question by Rhinos, who has a bad habit of asking good questions. It's a good habit. Why'd I call it a bad habit? I'm an idiot. Anyway, so Rhino says, "Dear Day9, I have a question about harassing. What are your tips on how to decide when is the good time to harass and how to choose the proper units to that mission?" So here's the thing about harassment. Harassment's kind of funky because I'm going to say this and all of you are going to go, "Yeah," but I still want you to go sit and think about it. I want you to just get like a long breadstick and just nibble at it slowly and look into the distance like it's a cigarette. But don't smoke because that's bad for your health. But just chew on this breadstick and think about these words. Any harassment attack must do more damage than the investment into that harassment. So for instance, players will watch a Protoss versus Zerg, and they'll see the Protoss making tons of Zealots and Templar and Stalkers and just barreling the Zerg down, and the Protoss will win. And they'll watch them again, and the Protoss player will win against the Zerg, and they'll watch them again and again and again and again, and then maybe 3 games in a row this Protoss player loses. People will look at that and go, well, maybe he could have harassed to do it. Maybe that's how he could have gotten his extra edge to win. So these players will start incorporating more harassment into their play. But what you have to know is that a Warp Prism and 2 Templar, which is not the biggest army in the world, is still pretty costly. That's 300 minerals and 300 gas. That's a decent bit. By comparison, that's like basically getting +2/+2 upgrades-ish. It's about how much that costs. So for instance, if you drop this Warp Prism, get off 2 or 3 storms and kill off like 4 drones, and then you lose the Warp Prism and the Templar, which isn't unheard of, that seems pretty reasonable. That's actually horrible, right? You only killed 4 drones, you only killed $200 worth of drones, and you lost all this gas and this Warp Prism and this time. Ugh, God, gross. So with any harassment, you really have to think, am I getting my worth out of this? Watch Bisu versus Jaedong on Blue Storm. Coolest example of this ever. Bisu is dropping. He killed like 8 hatches. He storms 1,000 drones. He gets DTs into the base and rips up drones and buildings. And Jaedong does a huge drop and loses everything. And then there's more harassment by Bisu and more harassment by Bisu. And then Jaedong wins. That's how that game looked. That is the description of that game. Bisu harassing and harassing and harassing and harassing, and then he lost. And this is actually going to be like an hour of your time if you do this, so feel free to skim. But watch it through once, just the regular camera of Bisu versus Jaedong, and then go to the first-person view of Bisu. There's actually a first-person video of this game, and you will see that Bisu has, you know, amazing harassment and really great control and really sharp focus, but is surprisingly low on stuff all game long because he is investing so much into harassment. It's insane. So what's the unfortunate answer is with harassment is that if you are someone who, let's say, you know, you're copper, silver level, you know, a newer player, you're going to have to put a stake in the sand of this is when my harassment happens. You know, at this point in the game, I'm dropping 5 Marines and a Marauder. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to see how it turns out. and then play around with that one thing and see if there's some way for you to maximize damage. Again, set the stake in the ground. At 70 food, I'm doing this exact drop. Okay, at 60 food, I'm doing this exact drop. At 80 food, I'm doing this exact drop. And then you'll start to get a little bit of a sense of when to do it. And then you also have to play with these numbers. So, harassment is one of the hardest things, I think, to really get crisp and right. And that's why you see so many players just favor this, I'm just going to expand and get an army and whatever. It's just like what I'm going to do because harassing's too hard to figure out. It's too easy to screw up. You know, it's too easy to try to harass at the wrong time and lose your force and then just be